Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining today's stream news summary program from Moscow. As always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments that Russian media is focused on, and hopefully, you will find news segment informative and useful. And in that case, please click that like button and leave some commentary. If you can, share video with your friends, and after new segment, if there are going to be any questions or the comments through support platforms, of course I will react on it. That's been said, dear friends. Let's go through some news now, and first of all I will start with the latest update of defense ministry of the Russian Federation about work of air defense systems past night and early this morning. Many media outlets here in Russia are reporting that air defense systems on duty intercepted 130 drones, according to Defense Ministry, past night over their 11 regions and also Caspian Sea. I can give you some details on that. So 38 drones from these 130 were intercepted over the Astrakhan region, southern Russia, 25 drones each over the Bryansk region and also Moscow region. Out of these 25 that was directed towards Moscow region, or were intercepted over the Moscow region, 15 were flying towards the capital itself. Although we have update on that, I give you this update in a minute. 8 drones past night were intercepted in the Belgorod region, also in Rostov and Kaluga regions. 6 drones in the Tula region, 4 drones in Kalmykia Republic, 3 each in the Kursk and Oryol regions, 1 each in Ryazan and over the Caspian Sea. Also, Defense Ministry of Defense announced that between 7 and 8 a.m. This morning, by the way, another 16 drones were shot down over the Kaluga, Bryansk, Tambov, and Moscow regions. Unfortunately, due to these strikes by Kyiv regime with assistance of NATO, there were casualties. And we have, for example, for this particular moment, we have a report from Russian media that 2 civilians were killed in the Zaporozhye region and 7 others were injured as a result of drone strikes of the Kyiv regime. But as I mentioned, this morning, Kyiv regime continued to launch these drones, and we have an update that, for example, the number of drones that were shot down while approaching Moscow, capital of Russia, reached 20 since the start of their day, and air defense systems are still active in the Moscow region to intercept these incoming drones. Also, dear friends, we have an update in regards to special military operation. Obviously, yesterday during the community chat, I reported about liberation of Varvarovka settlement by Russian forces in the Zaporozhye region, and we also have a report that Kyiv regime's forces have deployed Azov neo-Nazi formation in Krasnoarmeysk direction, which is Pokrovsk, by the way, also known as Pokrovsk, on the northern side of city Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration to achieve breakthrough, kind of, and to allow encircled troops of Kyiv regime in Mirnograd to escape. I can give you some details on this report. So the Ukrainian armed forces have deployed nationalists from their first National Guard Corps, Azov, to Krasnoarmeysk or Pokrovsk direction in hopes to breaking the encirclement surrounding Ukrainian troops. The source in the security forces told RIA Novosti news agency, and this is not the first, obviously not the first attempt of Kyiv regime's forces to achieve a certain breakthrough in Pokrovsk-Mirnograd direction to allow encircled Kyiv regime's forces to escape. These kind of attacks are happening on regular basis, and for example, we have reports that on past Saturday there was yet another such a relatively large-scale counterattack conducted by Kyiv regime's forces in Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration area, and as a result of these hostilities, these attacks, as a result of Russian fire, these attacking formations of the Kyiv regime lost over 60 military personnel, 3 tanks, up to 20 motorcycles. And it was clearly a suicidal attack conducted on Pokrovsk-Mirnograd direction. But yet again, they will continue. They will continue, I guess, to deploy more and more troops in this area. I can give you. I can show you on the map, dear friends, areas that we are talking about. So this is Varvarovka settlement on the northern side of Gulyai Pole that is liberated by Russian forces. I expect today or tomorrow Russian Defense Ministry to make announcement about liberation of Priluki settlement. Inside the Gulyai Pole, Russian forces already conducting offensive operations, as I reported earlier, and many other sources, of course. This is Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration, and as I already said, Kiev regime on a regular basis sends its troops on suicidal operations, and now Azov neo-Nazi formation has been deployed in this area. I guess Russian troops will take care of those formations and eliminate as many Ukrainian neo-Nazis as they possibly can. Kiev regime's troops still are encircled in Mirnograd, on the northern part of Mirnograd, and there are different speculations, different rumors on internet about 1,000 Kiev regime troops being encircled in Mirnograd, about 2,000 troops being encircled in Mirnograd. In reality, probably not even Kiev regime knows how many of its troops are encircled in this city. Also, dear friends, Russian forces continue advances in the Seversk area, northern part of Donetsk People's Republic, and after establishing full control over the Seversk, reports are coming in about liberation of this industrial area on the western side of Seversk. Initiative completely in Russian hands in Seversk Liman direction. Also, of course, nowadays everybody kind of talking about situation in Kupiansk, where Kiev regime in past several days were conducting counteroffensives, and well, it is difficult to know for sure what is going on inside the Kupiansk itself. According to many sources, including Russian sources, by the way, Kiev regime's forces did establish their foothold inside the western bank of inside the Seversk, inside the Kupiansk, on a right bank of the Oskol River. According to some reports, most of the right bank in the city is controlled now by Kiev regime's forces. According to other reports, it's like 50-50 now. Difficult to say. Inside the city, fierce fighting continues, and based on reports that I see, it seems to me that these Kiev regime's forces that were redeployed for this counteroffensive in Kupiansk direction are kind of running out of steam. And if this is true, then I guess in next 24 to 48 hours we will see change in the dynamics in the Kupiansk direction, and the Russian troops will begin conducting offensive operations. Air Force of the Russian Federation, long-range artillery, drone operators are very active to eliminate points of concentration of enemy forces in and inside Kupiansk and on the western outskirts of it. And that's about it for a short summary. Let's continue with some other news now. And I have to report, of course, that this deception operation, as I call it, with a fake peace plan from the Western ruling class continues. Yesterday in Germany, in capital of Germany, Berlin, there was a negotiations. Allegedly, that's how this called nowadays. When the master is talking to its servant, it called negotiations nowadays, which is something strange at least, right? But nevertheless, that's what media is reporting, that US-Ukraine negotiations in Berlin lasted over the 5 hours yesterday, and sides agreed to continue these negotiations today. So you tell me how laughable is this when master is kind of negotiating something with the servant, with the puppet, and their 5 hours negotiations were not enough, and they're going to continue negotiating today. Maybe Trump will kneel to Zelensky and start publicly begging for some compromises. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. All this gameplay that West did come up with is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know who's going to take them seriously. Can you imagine Witkov, Kushner, Zelensky, and his whoever was with him? They are talking 5 hours straight about what exactly? Who the hell is Zelensky to talk about anything, really, right? Just a freaking puppet. But nevertheless, that's their agenda that West is pushing, that there was a tough 5 hour negotiations in Berlin. Okay, and they're going to continue today. Okay. Reuters, meanwhile, is reporting that Ukraine allegedly dropped its NATO aspirations during these talks. Easy for anybody has to be kind of surprised, because and everyone have to make serious face and said that, well, this is a great compromise on part of Kyiv regime and its Western backers, because you see, Ukraine or Kyiv regime is no longer pushing for NATO membership. I mean, last time I checked, NATO's foundational documentation was absolutely 100% excluding country that has territorial issues or engaged in the war to enter the NATO. Ukraine never had even a slightest chance to become a NATO member state. It's obvious to me, it's obvious for everybody who pays any attention to reality. But nevertheless, Western propaganda did work its way through their minds of their, especially Western public. They made it feel like it is 100% that Ukraine will join NATO now. And today they are giving us this BS that Ukraine has dropped its NATO aspirations, and we have to take it like a great compromise on the part of Zelensky. Nonsense, yet again, by the way. I cannot take this this deception operation that West has come up with seriously, but yeah, they are still continuing to push, and literally on daily basis, they are adding more and more components to this quite a large-scale deception operation that they come up with. First of all, against Russia. Their main goal, main task is to achieve a break, obviously, for themselves and their proxy Kyiv regime and Kyiv regime's forces. And, well, they will continue to push as much as they can, at least as long as Moscow is not making it clear that this deception is not working and Moscow is not interested. Until Moscow is leaving door open for talks, even if everyone understands these talks are useless waste of time, until this door is open, West gonna push this false narrative, and my hope is that Moscow not gonna fail for it, and hopefully Moscow will not gonna fail for it. Otherwise, we're gonna get Minsk free. That's about it. Western ruling class gonna get the break that they are hoping for, and they're gonna use this breaker for reorganizing, rearming their proxy regime in Kiev, and to prepare that regime for a second round of active military hostilities. Hopefully, Moscow will never allow this to happen, but I cannot know. I cannot know what's going to happen. TASS news agency is reporting that meanwhile, Ushakov, aide of Russian president, stated that Russia will strongly object to changes to the US peace plan for Ukraine. For whatever reasons, probably everybody noticed that for whatever reasons, Russian attitude towards US administration is extremely friendly, polite. which makes no sense to me personally and for many other people worldwide, I guess. Not just here in Russia, but worldwide. But maybe this is some sort of a part of a gameplay that Moscow has um, to deal with the Western ruling class. I don't know, hard to tell. But this statement alone, that Russia will strongly object to changes to the US peace plan for Ukraine, raises the question, because that original 28-point plan that was leaked to Western propaganda outlets, it's extremely against Russian interests, extremely anti-Russian, right? And I find it difficult how anybody in Moscow can ever agree on that 28-point peace plan that Trump come up with. It's completely anti-Russian. It's basically capitulation. That's what that is. That document is demanding capitulation from Russia. And what is Ushakov is saying, that 28-point peace plan is something that Moscow is interested in, but Moscow will strongly object or anything else, especially points that EU and their Kiev regime might add. Moscow should reject all that nonsense straight away. But anyways, I'm just sick and tired of these games, by the way. Too much games, probably you agree with me. Too much fake stuff is happening. Too much fake talks, fake negotiations, fake statements, fake intents. Everything is fake nowadays, right? When it comes to politics and the geopolitics. And you don't really know who or what to trust. It is what it is. Nevertheless, West continues its hostility against Russia, and the number one diplomat of European Union, Kaja Kallas, stated that EU foreign ministers will approve new sanctions against Russia on Monday, that is today. She said that today they will make a decision on the new sanctions against Russia's shadow fleet, so-called shadow fleet. EU will add 40 more tankers to their blacklist related to Russia. Okay. Same time, Kaja Kallas is also engaged in the deception operation, and she stated that, membership of NATO is no longer under the discussion, Ukraine's membership in NATO, and I wonder why EU's top diplomat is making statements about NATO. Last time I checked, she was not representing NATO, she was representing the European Union, but nevertheless, as I said, by the way, this is quite a large-scale deception operation that Western ruling class come up with, and they are using literally everybody they can, from public figures and officials to their so-called media, everything, MSM and also alternative media sources that they actually controlled, and only on words are alternative or their independent media. In reality, they are all part of one gang, right? So yeah, Kallas now is commenting on NATO. Also, as if Ukraine ever had any chances to join NATO. It's crazy. It's just freaking insane, right? But, dear friends, Moscow's position was that, and still is, that Russia completely opposes, 100% opposes Ukraine's membership into NATO, but Russian leadership, quite a number of high-ranking Russian officials on numerous occasions said that Moscow will have no issue if Ukraine will join EU, and I think it is highly likely that sometime in the future, maybe near future, Moscow will have no option but to rethink this position, because we are clearly observing transformation of EU from economical alliance that it's supposed to be into a military alliance, and EU leading officials nowadays talk about militarization much more than about economical cooperation. So therefore, probably Russian leadership is obviously monitoring the situation, and they are considering some changes in Moscow's position in regards to Ukraine joining EU. My personal take is that Ukraine will never join either NATO, neither EU, by the way. I think once this operation, special military operation, will end, there will be no more Ukraine on the political map. So nothing cannot join something, right? That's simple as that. Also, interesting report here in Russia that the claim of the Central Bank of the Russia against Euroclear, Belgium-based financial institution, for 18.1 trillion rubles has been submitted to the Moscow arbitration court. The court's press service reported, and as Central Bank of Russia promised, process has begun, legal process against Euroclear, and I think this process will not be done only in Russia. Euroclear has its representatives, its offices, its representation all over the world. Euroclear has investments all over the world, and probably Russian central bank will track them all and make their life quite difficult with all these trials, right? And also one should keep in mind that once Moscow's arbitration court will make decision about this 18.1 trillion a lawsuit claim from Russian central bank, I guess Moscow will act on it and potentially confiscate, Western investments in Russia as a retaliatory measure. Very much possible, although let's see, we will find out. Also, dear friends, yesterday there was a horrible terrorist attack that happened in Sydney, Australia. Jewish community that was celebrating Hanukkah was attacked by terrorists, and the latest information is that 16 people have been killed as a result of this terrorist attack. Tragedy, of course. And Israel was very quick to blame Iran for this attack. Israeli leadership cannot be changed, by the way. They are all about hostilities and criminal activity in the region and elsewhere worldwide. And it is exactly because of their terrorist or criminal activity of the Israeli regime, inhuman Israeli regime, that unfortunately anti-Semitism or Jew hate is on the rise worldwide. Anti-Semitism is not the right word because Arabs are Semites too. Maybe some people don't know this or don't realize this, but yes, anti-Semitism is not just Jewish people that speak Semite language, but also Arabs, by the way, are the Semites, right? But Jew hatred is clearly on the rise, and first and foremost is because of terrorist, criminal, inhuman activity of the Israeli regime. And once again, these terrorists that are in charge of Israel used this tragedy that happened in Australia to further promote their agenda of war with Iran. And of course, they want to pull in US and possibly other NATO member states, right? And these claims from Israel definitely raises the questions of a possible Mossad involvement in that terrorist attack in Sydney. Maybe this was a false flag operation conducted by Mossad, Israeli secret services. Maybe, I would not be surprised at all. And maybe those terrorists were operating under the directives of Mossad agents. Very much possible. And to debunk this useless, stupid claim from Israeli terrorist regime about these terrorists being related to Iran, ABC reported that ISIS terrorist organization's flag was found in a car of Bondi terror suspects. And ISIS, this terrorist organization, as well as Al Qaeda and majority of terrorist organizations, vast majority of them are radical Sunnis or radicalized Sunni Muslims. Iran is a Shiite, majority, predominantly Shiite country. And Iran was and still is the number one enemy of all these Sunni terrorist organizations, including ISIS. So ABC and Western media basically unwillingly debunked this useless Israeli claim while sharing with the public information that ISIS flag was found in a car of these Sydney attackers. Also interesting news is coming from in regards to Venezuela, interesting and dangerous simultaneously, because reports are that U.S. Aerial refueling tanker nearly collided with a civilian aircraft near Venezuela. A JetBlue avio company's plane, flying from Caribbean island of Curacao, halted its climb to avoid collision with the U.S. Air Force tanker, and this was reported by CNN today and many other media outlets. And I have listened to communication between the pilot of this JetBlue plane and tower, and pilot was very clear. Tower was very clear as pilot that this U.S. Tanker was flying without transponders on. So this military buildup of U.S. in and around Venezuela already causing trouble for civilian aviation and for the civilians, and the risks, right? And this is definitely something very serious that world should pay attention to. Nothing to be said about potential war that U.S. might start against Venezuela first, then U.S. might turn to Cuba, and who knows which other countries they plan to target in Latin America and also elsewhere. So clearly irresponsibility on part of U.S. militaries there. And dear friends, this is it for today's first live stream. I can give you one more news that you might find interesting. That first time in last 88 years, or in its 88 years, by the way, Volkswagen, German car manufacturing giant, is closing a factory in Germany. It's a Dresden plant that will shut permanently, with the site being repurposed for AI development and tourism. So yeah, yet another indicator that Germany is in deep trouble. Germany's economy is in deep trouble. And dear friends, this is it. This is it for now. I was hoping for a shorter update, and from now on, I'm definitely gonna try to make my first live streams as short as possible, and maybe maybe my second updates on Patreon and Boosty will gain a little more attention in that case. In any ways, thank you very much for your attention. Hopefully you like the news segment itself. In that case, please click that like button, leave some commentary, and there was a super chat, right? Anna is telling me it's a day off for her today, and Anna is telling me that there was a super chat. Can you drop a screenshot, please? There was a super chat on Rumble. I will highlight this super chat right now, dear friends, and so just a second, if I may. So thank you very much, Blorp, for your super chat on Rumble and the $5 donation. And comment from Blorp is no one needs special rights. Maybe I missed the context there. For the comment, I guess there was a conversation in the chat, or this is the reaction. This is the reaction on some of the news. Thank you very much, Blorp, for sharing and for your attention and support. And this is it. This is it for now, dear friends. Once again, if you like the video, please click that like button and leave some commentary. And if you want to support my work, you can do it through several means. All the links for support are under this video in description box and will be in a pinned comment on YouTube. This is it for now. Have a wonderful day and take care. Bye.